So today I'm going to show you a fast and easy color grading workflow that I'm using all the time because you can color grade a lot of footage very fast. For that we go to Davinci Resolve, and once you imported your footage you can go to color management and change this one to color managed. You could leave it like that, but if you do it this way, you're working in the Rec 709 color space, which is pretty small. And if you know Davinci Resolve a bit more, you should know that working in Davinci White Gamut is the better way to do it. So we uncheck automatic color management and choose HDR Davinci White Gamut Intermediate, and output color space is gonna be Rec 709 Gamma 2.4 of course, because that's our output. So now since we're working in a color managed environment, some of the footage that gets detected by Davinci Resolve, for example the HDR footage from an iPhone 12, is getting converted automatically. So we put all the clips in the timeline and some of them are going to be converted. This one is Rec 709 footage, so it's gonna stay the same. This one's S-Log footage and this one's definitely not getting detected. This one's getting detected, but it still needs some work because it's overexposed. And this one is the same, it's HDR footage from an iPhone 12, so it's getting detected, but it's still overexposed. So we're going to fix that. For that we go back to the Media tab. And now this one's Rec 709, this is fine, this looks alright. And for this we right click and go to input color space. In this case, this is sgamma3.cine with slog3. I boosted the saturation in camera so that we got more color information with this camera. So we might want to change that when we make our adjustments. And the other ones are getting detected, so they're fine. So for the next step, we're gonna make some adjustments on the clip base. So I go to this clip and make 3 nodes with Option or Alt S, and then I start naming them. This one's gonna be exposure, this one's contrast, and this one's for white balance. And now we do the same for all the other clips, or you just click on this clip and press Command C and Command V on this clip. So now we copied and pasted all the nodes from the other clip. Same for this one and for this one. And now we can make our adjustments. So as you can see, this clip is pretty much overexposed. So we go to the exposure tab, go to the primary color wheels, and for brightness adjustments, we wanna use the offset wheel. So we're gonna pull it down a bit more. And I think, yeah, that looks fine. Now we go to this clip and do the same here until it looks good. And that looks good. So in this case we have way too much saturation, so I go to the white balance node. This is not white balance, but I think this is the best node to do it. So we change the saturation to 35, maybe a bit more, 38. That looks okay to me. So this clip looks pretty good. One thing I'd like to do is when we compare the contrast levels of all the clips, we can see that this clip has a little bit less contrast than on the other clips. So we go to the contrast node, of course, and increase the contrast. Not too much, just a little bit. And that looks fine. So now since we converted and corrected all the footage, we want to add a color grading. For that we click on this little thing here and go to timeline. And for the color grading, what I like to do is open up the gallery, and I've got some power grades here, and I already made a teal and orange look, and I would just press apply grade, and now I've got my color grade on all the clips because this is on the timeline base, not on the clip base. So this color grading is gonna affect all the clips in the timeline, but I'm going to reset this one and I gotta make a new color grading from scratch. So for that, I just press Alt or Option S to make a new node, and I make 3 of them. First one's gonna be hue, second one color separation, and the last one is gonna be an S-curve. So now I'm going to show you my way, but you can of course do it a little bit different, but you have to be very careful because the color grading is gonna affect all the clips, so you don't want to make it too strong. And also if you want to use a LUT for the color grading, you might want to go back to the color management and change it back to SDR Rec 709, because most of the LUTs are not in Davinci White Gamut, instead they're in Rec 709, and this is not gonna work very good. And also if you make all the adjustments yourself, it's gonna work fine. So we start with the S-curve, and for that we just make an S-curve, pull the shadows down and pull up the highlights a bit. I like to lift my blacks a bit, so that's what we're going to do. Pull down the highlights a bit, like that, before and after. take a look at all the other clips because it's gonna affect more than one clip. And that looks pretty good in my opinion. So now we go to the color separation node and I uncheck this one. And we go to the blue channel. And when you hold down Option while clicking this point is gonna stick to the line. So if we make a point here, so that when we make an adjustment, we only affect the lower parts, not everything above it. And now I pull up the blue so that we get some blue in the shadows, as you can see here. Now we do the same with the green channel, but a little bit less, so it's not as strong as the blue channel. And now we get a little bit of teal in the shadows. And now we go to the red channel, make a point here, and pull up the red a bit. But you have to be very careful because it's a little bit touchy. Pull up the green a bit. And now we can pull down the channels, but you have to be very careful of that, because when you pull down the red all the way to 0, as you can see, it's not 0%, because 0% is actually 50, so the red channel is not doing anything right now. But when you pull it all the way to 0, it's gonna do the opposite of what you did here. So we pull down the red a bit, but not too much. I think 80 is good. And of course you can do the same with the other channels, but I like the way they're looking, so that's fine for me. And if you think this node is too strong, you can go to this tab here and go to Key Output Gain, and now you can change the intensity of this node. For example, if you want to have 50%, you just type in 0.5, and now you got 50% intensity of this node. But I like what it's doing, so I leave it at 100. Now we go to the last node, which is the hue node, and I want to make a little bit of a teal and orange look, of course. So we go to the hue versus hue node, click on this blue point, and I pull up the blue bit so that we got more teal in the blues. Make a point here, pull it down, pull this a little bit more up, and make 2 points here. Now if I like to adjust the hue of some things, I can do it here. Pull up the yellow in this case. But I make a point here so that we don't affect the skin tones too much, because the skin tones are right here and we don't want to affect them in a negative way. And of course we can also change the saturation. In this case the blue is a little bit too strong, so I want to decrease the saturation of the blue a bit, maybe even of the teal. Even the green channel is a little bit too strong in my opinion, so we also pull it down a bit. Yeah, that's my color grading. That's before the conversion. That's after all we did. And now you can make a power grade album and just right click, grab still, and then give it a name. And now you got your color grading on all your Davinci Resolve projects. If you want to use it, you just click apply grade. And if you want to apply it on all the clips, you go to the timeline, of course. But also make sure if you worked in Davinci White Gamut that you only use this grade in Davinci White Gamut. This is very important because if you don't do it, it's gonna look very weird. So that's it with my color grading workflow video. Thanks for watching and see you guys in the next video.